Hello and welcome to Web of Light. My name is Angie D'Anjou and I'm here with Dr. Kevin. Dr. Kevin? Where's Dr. Kevin? Somebody stole Dr. Kevin. Where's Dr. Kevin? Oh, I'm Dr. Kevin. Somebody stole Angie. So welcome to Web of Light. Angie is just recently left on vacation with the love of her life, Mr. Don. They've been married 20 odd years. I can't tell you how much, but they're over at the Thousand Islands up in the New York area around doing a little empty nest honeymooning around Niagara Falls. So Angie, I hope you're having a great time and you just got the last of the kids out of the nest. So don't be bringing any more in, okay? You're like done. So this is our astrology week, and we will be bringing Dorothy on in just a few minutes, where she's going to be transitioning us from Leo into Virgo. But before that, we still get to do a words of wisdom. And today's words of wisdom: never cheat someone you love of the joy of helping someone they love. And that is a Kevin Ross Embry quote. Never cheat someone you love of the joy of helping someone they love. And that means you. Oftentimes, people that are very giving and nurturing and are naturally out there helping other people don't like to ask for help. Sometimes they don't receive help well. Sometimes they just are like, oh no, that's fine, I'll take care of it, I'll do it myself. But you know, when you don't let somebody love you back, they kind of feel like it's a little unbalanced. Sometimes it feels like it's actually unfair. Of, I love you, why don't you let me do something for you because you're always doing something for me. For those of you who have a tendency to poo-poo people that want to help you, that when the husband or wife or children or best friends or coworkers or whatever offer to help you and you refuse, and you think that you are just trying to be kind or be nice, you really need to check at the door. Where's your self-worth? Where's your self-esteem? Are you having a little bit of a martyr complex? Is there a little part of you that may have some very high-minded ideals that says, no, I can do it all myself. And then you get to be passive-aggressive about it. You know, if you find joy in doing something for somebody that you love, why would you not let the person that loves you find that same joy? It's a form of being selfish. So I invite you the next time that you want to push somebody away that loves you and is trying to help you to say, okay, absolutely, thank you, I appreciate you. And let them feel the joy that you feel. And if you're not feeling joy when you're doing things for other people, then you do definitely want to check in. Am I just a martyr? Am I just passive-aggressive? Do I do it to have some little score sheet that then, in the middle of a fight, I can throw it back in their face? Because all of those are very unattractive and very unhealthy. So now we're going to get another perspective of this from our astrologer, Dorothy Morgan.
Hi.
Hey, welcome back.
Hi, guys.
So what do you think? What's going on when people won't let people help them?
I know. I recall some of these things in my own life. And it's so very true, because that type of behavior does turn to passive-aggressive and martyrdom. And it really does. And that's not great. You're right. It's not healthy. I feel it's not healthy when you're just constantly giving because you're not receiving. It is exactly, and you've used this quote many times, it's like you got to put your own air mask on first, you know, and if you're not, if you're not focusing on what you need sometimes and allowing others to help you as well, then you're not giving. You're giving from emptiness. You have nothing left for yourself. So it's okay to do that. And what you're talking about reminds me of the spring equinox, the fall equinox, which is a month away. So we'll talk about that next month. But the fall equinox is about finding that balance. But astrologically, I think about it too, is every time we have a full moon, The full moon energy, we all love the moon. We all go outside at night and just stare at the full moon. I don't care what your religious belief is or who you are. Everybody, if you see the moon in the night sky, we all stop at least for a moment in time and just go, ah, right?
Yeah.
And so the full moon represents partnerships and equilibrium and balance. That's the first thing that they represent, because the sun is one place and the moon is exactly opposite, and that's what creates the balance and the scales. And so every time we have a full moon every month, the energy around relationships and partnerships and feeling balanced is brought to our awareness.
Well, and I know that today's conversation is going to be leaving that the I am the sun Leo energy.
I know.
Which I wouldn't know anything about since I'm a little shy Cancer, but the I am the sun
Right.
Leo energy into Virgo, which is one of the, what I always think of as one of the real service signs.
It is a service sign. It is how may I serve you? It's our service to others. It's our service to humanity. It's also represented of our daily living, daily health care, routines, absolute routines, and details, focusing on the details. All of these things are what we're stepping into starting August 22nd.
Yeah, well, and you know, there is that energy of that if you are serving and you are serving from a place of martyrdom, that there is no actual service that's happening. That service actually there has to be an energy exchange. And that oftentimes you can get caught into the energy of serving to the point where you may be giving them a cup of water, but it's laced with arsenic.
Yeah. Well, that's that. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, you know, that, and that really, that back and forth. And I particularly chose this quote today because I knew we were going to be talking about Virgos and what's coming up astrologically, but I want to spend a little bit of time, and as you know, as we go through these next 12 months, and we did a little bit with Leo, not so much with Cancer, but I want you to share not only what's coming up, but you know, educate people a little bit on what the Virgo energy is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and I want you guys to remember, no matter where you were born, what day, what sign, what year, what century you were born in, you have Virgo in your chart. There is no such thing as a chart without Virgo in it. You may want to find out where your Virgo is, because that's where you will play out Virgo energy. So as Dorothy is talking about Virgo, which I'm going to ask her to do first, and then talk about some of what's coming up in Virgo over the next month, if you consult, you know, Dorothy, or you know, you already have, or you have your chart, look and say, this is where my Virgo energy. Do I have that right?
You do have that right, because everybody knows what their sign is. What's your sign? Most everybody knows. Some people are born on the day the sign shifts, so you might not know unless you have your birth time and somebody has cast your chart for you. But other than that, we all know what sun sign we are. But even if you're not a Virgo, like Kevin was just saying, that doesn't matter, because all 12 zodiac signs are part of who we are. We are part, all of it is part of us. It's just the sun is the ego expression and what we're learning about. You know, I'm learning how to be a Gemini. You're learning how to be a Cancer. That still doesn't mean that when we have astrological things happening, we're all going to focus on certain things. And this time around, with the sun moving into Virgo, this time of year, it always moves into Virgo. The sun is always in the same place in your individual chart, somewhere, and that's your focus. This time, every year, you're focusing on the same thing. And it's just that way. Your chart is set. It's a set blueprint. It's that soul's choice, the soul's path. It's what the soul wants to do. So wherever Virgo is in your chart is where you're focusing on details, focusing on service to others. A lot of people in healthcare have strong Virgo in their chart. What do I mean by strong Virgo? I would want to cast your chart, but it depends if it's on an angle, north, east, south, or west, where Virgo was at the time you were born. The earth spins, right? Your moon might be in Virgo.
Your ascendant.
Your ascendant. That's the eastern, the horizon at the time that you were born. The zodiac belt is around us, fixed, and we spin. There are spins, if you didn't know. And so
Heresy, heresy, burn that woman as a witch.
No, that was the last show.
Suffer not a witch. The world is flat and stationary in the center of the universe. Didn't you know that?
I know, but we do pretend that astrologically sometimes. If you look at your astrology chart, we actually pretend in Western astrology, we pretend that we're in the middle and everything is around us. We do pretend that because we have to, because we're looking at it from our perspective.
Well, of course you're going to look at it. But
Yeah.
you have not, obviously you missed it. In the last Trump speech, he said the world is flat in the center of the universe, and everybody that didn't agree with him was going to be burned at the stake. You didn't hear that?
No.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anyways.
I was talking a long talk with a longtime student of mine last night about Donald Trump's chart, and I saw some stuff I was floored I hadn't seen before. Because anyways, that's another whole conversation.
Megalomania, narcissism.
No, we already knew that.
Yeah.
He's got Leo rising. He's definitely got some narcissistic behaviors going on there.
So tell us,
sir.
when somebody, because I'm going to have you use me as an example because we know my chart. But so if somebody is a sun Virgo, but
Yep.
wherever somebody's Virgo energy is, give us a little bit about what is the sign of Virgo, and then I'm going to have you apply it to where my Virgo is.
What
hanging
Virgo
out.
is, I've mentioned a lot of the keywords already. It represents how we serve others. And a lot of times, if we're not in service to others, that's okay. The Virgo energy in our chart might be, it rules our everyday routine, the things that we do every day, especially healthcare things like brush our teeth, eat right. It rules our digestion. It rules how we assimilate information and or food. Those are parts of it. It's also is represented by very highly focused details. We'll find people with Virgo, for example, on the midheaven. The midheaven's the career sector of the chart. If you have Virgo up there, a lot of times people are either in healthcare, and this is the healthcare where, like the nurse practitioner, somebody who really is hands-on. The doctors are hands-on, but it's a little bit different. This is more the nurse practitioners and people like that who really are in the, in the ground level with healthcare, and taking care of people on a daily basis. We also find accountants and bookkeepers because they need to pay attention to the fine details of things. Now we hear all of this about fine details and focusing on our attention and hyper-focusing our attention. Some people can take that energy and they can also be very messy and very disorganized, but they still know where everything is. And if something in their life is out of place, they become obsessive and they try to fix it, and they fixate on thoughts and ideas and how something should be. Like the flowers on this table, if one leaf's out of place, they would have to fix it before they could do anything else. It's a fair amount of OCD that can happen if Virgo, depending on how your Virgo is placed in your chart, planets you might have in there. So I know there's a lot of astrological terminology, but really what it comes down to is day-to-day life, day-to-day living, focusing on the details. Those are the main things for Virgo.
So if your Virgo was in your second house of money and finances, then they would be more anal retentive about that. Or
That's right. And the second house is also things I value. So
Yep.
you're going to value your finances. Would be great for somebody who's an accountant, somebody who plays the numbers, somebody who wants to play in the stock market. This is something you're born with this. So it's already who you are.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Because now, do you remember? You remember where mine is?
I don't.
Midheaven.
It is on your midheaven?
Yep.
Okay.
I thought it was so funny when you said, no, if it's about the midheaven. I'm like, no, is she remembering?
I
or
don't know.
She just,
No,
I
I have
didn't
so
think you,
many
I don't
charts to
expect you
remember.
to, but you know, as we're going through the charts, and at some point you're going to do Angie's, I think, or if you haven't already. But you know, as we're doing future shows and we're trying to give examples, we'll do it with our charts
Yeah.
because it makes, you know, we can either
Yeah.
confirm or deny.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought about going into nursing once upon a time,
Yeah.
and I started my career as in accounting. Most people look at me and go, Dr. Kevin, accounting, really?
Yeah.
Hey, you should have seen me on anatomy machines. It's back at anatomy machine.
Let me bring this up. You work with, remember I was just mentioning that if with Virgo, if there is some dysfunction with the Virgo in a person's chart, and to explain it would go over your head, right? So if there's some dysfunction with somebody's Virgo energy in their chart, they're going to fixate on it. And what is fixation? It's OCD, right?
Yeah.
Attention deficit disorder. If I see something that's dysfunctional person's chart, they may, in not every instance, there are many things that have to play into this. OCD, ADD, ADHD, and what do you do? What are you known for?
Yeah. You mean because I'm an ADD poster child?
Yes,
that works with ADD?
And you have many, many, many informative pieces of media out there in all the different
Few
ways
books,
that you do it.
DVDs, CDs.
Yes.
Yeah, all on ADD. Yeah, I was thinking that when you were talking about it, actually.
And so that Virgo thing. Another thing about Virgo that is uncomfortable. A lot of people that have Virgo on the ascendant. Now, in the Northern Hemisphere, this is the science of it. In the Northern Hemisphere, where we are in New Hampshire and you know around this latitude, Virgo and Libra take a little longer to rise on the horizon, come up over the horizon than a lot of the other zodiac signs. It's just the math of it. And it's trigonometry, so I honestly can't understand why, but it just is that way. And so more people in the Northern Hemisphere have Virgo and Libra rising than any other zodiac sign. So there are many, many people that have Virgo rising. It is a huge amount of people that have Virgo rising. And so both of my children have it. 100% of my children have Virgo rising. And so if you're stressed and you're focusing too much on a detail you do not need to focus on, but you will because you're Virgo, you will have digestion issues. I am a firm believer that, I can't remember exactly when it was, but I'm a firm believer that Virgo was triggered in some way when all of a sudden this gluten intolerance showed up. Because I know just about every Virgo I know that's even heard of those words believes they're gluten intolerant. They may be, but they believe they are because it rules the digestion. It rules assimilation, Virgo. And if we're assimilating too much information and we're obsessing too much about something we're thinking about, it affects our stomach and we can't digest well.
So do you think that the majority of the Borg have Virgo rising or a Virgo sun? Because they're all about assimilation, right?
I love the Borg. What is their statement right now? I'm drawing a blank. Resistance
is futile.
All right.
Resistance is futile. That's the Borg.
And Virgo is a mutable earth sign. Mutable sign. Mutable meaning go with the flow. That's Virgo. But Borg.
Earth.
But Earth.
But very
and
earthy.
Very grounding.
Well, so
Okay. So I gave you a lot of info there, so we can digest this now.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna do something which you may have thought about before or not, but you know I always like to connect dots.
Or throw wrenches into things. And like say, I have no idea what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Well, see, first of all, I connect the dots, and when I connect the dots, it makes a picture of a wrench, and then I take the wrench out and I throw
There
it
you
in.
go, okay.
So here's the thing. New England is known as one of the top medical hubs of the world.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Educational and also medical. We have some of the best teaching medical hospitals and
Right.
stuff like this. I mean, there are other areas that have come up, but for a long time it's here. do you think that's because New England is a home of a lot of Virgo risings, and the energy
very
here
well be.
draws them?
Could very well be. We could look at charts. I don't have that available, but we could just see New England charts, and I think that most likely could be very true, very, very true.
Now, I've always heard something, and I'm going to throw this out.
See, wrench.
A wrench. And then we're going to move on to what's coming up over this time of Virgo.
Okay.
But I heard a long time ago that Virgo is the ideal sign for nurses and prostitutes.
I've heard the first part. I haven't heard the second part.
I back when I started studying astrology in the late 70s. And
We can analyze it. That's
you know,
Virgo.
and I'm not saying they're the same thing. No, anybody that walks out and said, "Oh, you just called nurses prostitutes," was not listening, because there was an "and" in between. But that
both
the
good
driving force of prostitution is service, to be of service. Practical, very practical service, and it's an earth sign.
Well, remember, I mean, what's his name? General Hooker. That's his name. This is where the nickname comes from. Did you not know? He brought prostitutes this was in the Civil War. He brought prostitutes in for his men, for their daily needs, as I roll my eyes,
Ugh,
and they were known as Hooker's girls.
I never knew that.
And that's where the
Never knew
nickname
that.
comes from.
Absolutely, never knew that.
I know, web of light. It's amazing where that web will take us.
But you know, the funny thing is, and you know, I'm very anti-politically correct. I just do politically correct. Don't do it. Any piece of information that is a true piece of information is valid as a true piece of information.
Yeah.
I mean, and I find history fascinating. I've always found history fascinating. Someday you'll tell me where that shows up in my chart.
Yeah.
But
It's
I've always
the midheaven. The midheaven is Capricorn, is naturally ruled by Capricorn, and Capricorn loves history because history is our roots, it's our foundation. And you have Virgo there, so you're going to pay attention to the details of history. It's going to mean a lot to you.
yeah, you know,
I love history. I just spent 2 weeks camping in a medieval tent in incredible amount of heat, pretending I was a Viking. Okay?
okay. The only part of that sentence I don't understand was the word pretending.
That's true. I wasn't pretending. Well, I do have my
you were
glasses
reliving.
on. I was reliving. I did have my glasses on because I cannot see without them. So it is the modern age, but still.
Yeah,
Anyways,
you're just pretending.
I
So,
digress.
hey, well, you know, it's a little digression. Well, we're doing a little bit of a digression for a second, and then we're going to get into what's coming up on Virgo. I do want to welcome the fact that we are now being carried in Nashua. We're being carried in Concord, and there is a regional station that covers several towns in Vermont that has just picked us up
Excellent.
and that we know of. And I want to welcome all of those to Web of Light. Also, I know that Web of Light gets picked up by some people out there who we don't know that they've picked it up because they can pick it up and have it being shown locally. Please send us a note, drkevin@weboflight.com. Let us know, drkevin@weboflight.com. Let us know if you've recently joined our Web of Light family so we can say hello to you and welcome to our community. So, and this, our monthly astrologer, Dorothy Morgan, New Hampshire astrologer.
Yeah.
Her astrology is for more than just New Hampshire.
Yes.
It's valid in all the states, right? Are you
It is.
licensed in all 50 states?
I am. I have clients in Australia, New Zealand, UK, Paris. I'm talking to someone in Paris later today. It's a regular client of mine. Yeah, Skype is amazing.
Love Skype. Okay, so now give us the lowdown. Now we've welcomed some of our new listeners.
So you guys, we have a bunch of eclipses coming up. We have one, I think the day before this show airs, and that's August 18th. And it's a full moon in the sign of Aquarius. And so the sun is at the end of Leo and the moon's in Aquarius. And so all of that is just really focusing in on, our service, because Aquarius is a higher type of service.
Yes.
It's about, groups and organizations. So we have a little bit of that going on. I have a YouTube channel. You guys can go listen to that, Dorothy Morgan Astrologer, and you can go watch that anytime you want and just pick up the info on that. Because today I want to focus on Virgo, and so from August 22nd to September 22nd, a lot going on. So first off, August 23rd, Mars and Saturn are conjunct in the sign of Sagittarius. There's a couple of different effects here, and depending on how you present yourself in the world and how you feel in the world. Now, some people who are just constantly pushing, not slowing down long enough to be conscious, will feel like they're banging their head against a wall with this transit. They'll feel like you're not getting anywhere. You're going to feel extremely stuck. So keep that in mind. Now, the other side of this is if you're somebody who can go with the flow, and even if you're feeling stuck, you accept that stuckness, if you will, and just say everything's going to move when it moves. On this day, on August 23rd, and we're actually feeling it all the way up to August 23rd from any time you see this on, which is what can happen here is we realize that things are starting to solidify, and then we're able to make plans, stop long enough to see what's going on in your own life, and then just wait for the energies wait for it to feel like it's moving. It's like being stuck in a traffic jam. Hitting the horn's going to get you nowhere, except everybody upset around you. And some people will do that. But the rest of you, you'll just sit there, you'll meditate, you'll just, be in the moment, and then the traffic will slowly start to move again. And these are two very distinct ways that we will be feeling around the 23rd of August.
Now, what's the time period for that? Is it just a day, or does it hang out in that energy for a few days, a week?
It varies from person to person, but generally, most of the time, on this day, on August 23rd, is the day we'll feel that tension become the strongest, and then it will release. And once it releases, it's just like, okay, now I'm moving. And we may be still moving slow, and we can still feel it around us, but we feel a release. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you said the two planets involved are?
Mars, which is the planet of movement and action in Sagittarius. So he's very fiery, and he wants to take action. He wants to move. He wants just to do. It's like, I really need to get going. What can I do? And we're feeling antsy. Saturn, which is right there with it. You can see it in the night sky. You can see it in the night sky. Mars is very red. Mars is down here. Saturn is right about there now. When they get together, they'll be right above each other, even though they're in the same degree in the zodiac sign. They're not on top of each other. The delineation is a little bit different. But this is like, again, feeling like hitting a brick wall, but then finally it starts to give. And it's not like 100% that's over with. There are residual feelings. So for a week or so after August 23rd, we'll just feel the after effects.
Yep. One of the things that I want to share with our viewers is that conceptually, think of it, that every planet moves at a different speed. So some planets like Mercury are going 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Some planets like Pluto are caution, slow-moving vehicle, and
Wide load ahead.
Wide load ahead.
That might be Jupiter, but still, yeah.
Yeah, a century may pass before it gets
Yeah.
into the before it moves away. Makes it cycle. So when you're talking about mid planets like Mars and Saturn, so as Mars coming up, and it's going to move faster than Saturn, so it's going to go over Saturn. So coming up to it, you're going to feel that energy building and building and building for probably up to a week before that. In fact, as they're watching the show, they've already started to feel that energy.
That's
and
correct.
then we'll peak, it will be another week. If it was a Uranus-Saturn thing, and Uranus moves slower,
Saturn would be coming up to it.
and it would be a longer boil,
Long.
and then it's going to be a long boil, and then it's going to be
A long
long
stay.
explosion,
Yes.
and then a shorter one.
Yes.
So I just want to share some things that would to help people kind of
Yeah.
like understand as you're talking about these planets.
Some
that-
things move very quickly, like the moon cycles, the lunar cycles. They move
Yep.
very quickly. We're going to talk about that next. But Mars takes 2 years to go around the solar system. which includes us and the sun. Saturn takes 29 years to go around the solar system. So you can see that there's a big difference between the two.
Yep.
So Mars is called a personal planet because it moves quickly. So even though you and I are born a few weeks apart, our Marses are in very different places. In that couple of weeks time period, it moves.
But
a
our
fair
Saturn is
distance.
probably in the
Our
same
Saturn
thing.
is in the same place, maybe 1 degree away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, understand it being in the same sign, but it'll be in different houses based on day and time of birth.
That's
so
correct.
That's, you know,
What
these
gives
are
us
the,
characteristics. That's what gives even twins different characteristics. Because first off, we all have choices, and we can all see things. But when you have identical twins that have all of the exact same options and choices that they have chosen in this lifetime, even if they're just a couple of minutes apart, there's still a few, it's like a dial on a clock, tick, 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 things move. So planets can be in different sectors called houses, and different houses are like different rooms in your house. You do certain things in the kitchen, you do certain things in the bathroom, in the bedroom, in the living room. They have their assigned duties, and that's what the houses are.
yeah,
So,
one of the things, I mean, one of the reasons that I personally wanted to have this segment and have you on the show is, a lot of people out there take astrology lightly. They dismiss it. It's just it's the stuff that appears beside the comics in the paper. And as people get a little bit more educated that there is really a science behind it, and there's a reason, and there's a logic, and there's a way to think about it, then they start to be able to say, this actually could be a valid tool in my life skill tool belt. Which is
Yes.
why sometimes stuff that I know you know, and I know, but they may not. I like to
Yeah.
do a little of my own
yeah.
sub. So go
cool.
ahead.
All right, so self-discipline is what we want with this Mars-Saturn conjunction. All right, so just have self-discipline. If you feel like you're really getting frustrated, then just, pardon me, stop and take a couple breaths and just chill out. Mercury goes retrograde on August 30th. This is the other thing, in the sign of Virgo. Mercury is in charge of Virgo. It rules Virgo, so this will be pretty strong. The retrograde of Mercury, we've talked about it before. You own one. This is a period in time from August 30th to September 22nd where it is retrograde. So that means we're going faster than Mercury. It just happens to be that, going around the sun is not a circle, it's an oval. And so we catch up with Mercury, and it's like being in the fast lane in the car. And next to you is going 55, you're going 65, and from an outside view, that planet has the illusion of going backwards. So it's not. Can't happen. We'd all fall out of the sky if it happened. I don't know what that means. But when Mercury's retrograde, especially in the sign of Virgo, people freak out. I just want you to take your time. I want you to slow down. I want you to reconsider what's going on in your life. Mercury, it goes so fast. Again, I use the example. It's like being in the fast lane driving. And you're driving and driving and driving, and you're going across country. And then on the way back, somebody else is driving, and you're the passenger, and you're like, hey, I didn't see that. Check that out. And you get to see things because you're now not speeding. And you're in the passenger seat. This is what we can do with Mercury retrograde. We can slow down, be more of an observer. There we go. And look at what's going on around you. Don't take action so much. You can, but just take your time. Take your time. Slow down. I know I talk too fast, and I'm always trying to slow down. It's like putting Mercury's brakes on. It's hard.
And your Mercury is in?
I'm a Gemini, so Mercury rules me.
Yeah.
My Mercury's in Cancer, so I'm an emotional speaker.
So now I know that through the years when I've done shows, because I actually on my old radio show, not my current version of it, we had a Mercury retrograde segment that I played every Mercury retrograde
Did you?
to explain
Yes.
how to do this.
Yeah, I have a video out there too. I do that every year, every time.
You know, because there's all this stuff about, you know, yes, you have to slow down, stop and take action. And in a practical way, that means be very careful. Not don't sign contracts, which is what you hear.
Yeah.
Oh, Mercury's retrograde, don't sign a contract. No, double check it.
Yeah.
Have somebody else look at it.
Somebody else look at it. Yes.
You're more likely to do it. You're more likely to miss something. And, you know, if you're waiting for somebody to respond on something, if Mercury's retrograde, it's more likely that the communications got bollocksed and they didn't get it.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to check in and say, hey, I just want to make sure. I drive several people in my life crazy because if I send them a text where I'm requesting something
Yeah.
and they don't send me even a thumbs up or the letter K, I'll keep texting them. And I did it to Angie just before she went on vacation. I texted her like 5 times until she finally like responded. And I said, I know I'm a pain in the anyways, and I'm a pain in the anyways.
Yes, I heard that.
I'm a pain in the anyways because I'm not going to assume that you got the text if you don't respond to it at all.
Yeah. I'm that way too.
Especially when you ask, when you're saying blah and there's a question or there's a request
Yeah.
involved. So,
At the most, I write back. It's like, I got your message. I'll get back to you in a couple hours, you know.
sometimes I just do the thumb. I just hit the
Yeah.
thumb because I'm really tight. I'm really busy, but got it. You know I got it now. It's in my
Yes.
brain.
Yeah.
So when Mercury's retrograde, those things slide. Some text, for some reason, don't go through. Communication gets a little thing. The check actually did get lost in the mail.
And those things happen all the time.
Yeah. But their likelihood of happening a little greater during a Mercury retrograde.
It can be. But the thing is, you know, it's like when you're going out shopping for a car. So you're going to go and you found one that you like, a red Corvette, and then all of a sudden red Corvettes show up everywhere. You never saw so many in your life until you started looking like you wanted to buy one because your focus is on it. So if you're focusing, this is what Mercury retrograde does. People hear it, you create. Look at how well you manifest. If you think every time Mercury is retrograde, something goes wrong, and it does, look at how well you manifest. Why don't you turn that into something positive?
See, and I look at every
My
time.
idea.
I see, and I look at every time Mercury is retrograde, I pay a little bit more attention and follow up a little better.
Perfect way to use it. I'm just letting people know that
Yep.
if they think that every time something's going to go wrong that Mercury is retrograde, they are creating that. It has nothing to do with Mercury being retrograde. They're creating
Now,
it.
is there a reason why what I'm getting ready to say is true, or is it just something I've made up in my mind?
Yes. It's true to you.
It's true to me. Well, you know, but one of the things I do myself and with my clients is when you come up into a Mercury retrograde, I find oftentimes that it will be attached with either moving forward or resolving something created in an earlier Mercury retrograde.
Absolutely.
So it does this cycle.
Yep.
So you go into Mercury retrograde and you look, and I do it. I'll look back. When was the last Mercury retrograde? What was going on? Okay, yep, I'm seeing stuff I didn't see before, or I'm
Yeah.
having epiphanies, or
Yeah, I can look.
I can now solve something. So why is that?
It's just the vibration of it, just because it actually trines the area where it was before. Typically, I mean, sometimes it crosses into different zodiac signs. This time Mercury will be retrograde at 29 degrees of Virgo. Let me look at my notes. It's somewhere in there. 29 degrees of Virgo, and it goes all the way back to about 14 degrees of Virgo. So it's staying in Virgo. And the last retrograde, it was in earth signs in all of Taurus. So it's just, it's triggering, this year it's triggering earth signs. Last year it triggered the air signs. And so that's why, because it makes a mathematical, geometric aspect to where it was retrograde before. So 3 times a year it goes retrograde.
So here's an invitation: is Mercury's getting ready to go retrograde. So go back, look at your journals, or
Yeah.
make part of your daily spiritual
I do that,
practices
yeah.
to go back and see what was going on. And sometimes I'll go back a couple of Mercury retrogrades and kind of feel what that energy is and bring it forward.
Yeah.
And then it's very useful.
It is. Astrologically, too, and this is getting intricate. This is my job, not yours. Since I know the area that the planet will be retrograde, so it's just going to, it goes, this is why things happen in threes, in my opinion, too. It goes forward from this point to this point, and it stops and goes retrograde. It goes back to that point, and then it comes forward again. So 1, 2, 3. You have 3 opportunities to learn something: forward, reverse, forward. And wherever that is, it's like driving. Again, I use the analogy of driving a lot, but when you're stuck in the snow or the mud and you drive back and forth to try to get out, you make yourself a deep rut. So you can get caught in a rut in those when we're doing these things. So in what I would do now, especially now doing sessions for people with Mercury coming up to be retrograde, I will go look and see, you know, what was going on when Jupiter was there, because I know Jupiter's in Virgo. And so when Jupiter was moving through this time period, we had an eclipse last year in this time period. This retrograde is going to be in synchronicity with the next eclipse that we have, which is September 1st. So that just means that I would do this looking backward, but we would go back to April is really where we need to go back to. And this is what Mercury retrograde will bring up. And moving into the next aspect is September 1st and the eclipse at 9 degrees of Virgo, the sun and the moon, new moon in Virgo eclipse. And again, Mercury retrograde is going to be right next door. Jupiter was there back in April and actually in January as well. And so this is all about timing. This is why you need me. But even I know that can like make people glaze over, but needless to say, we get to revisit things with these types of aspects.
So with this, and you know, we've got about 13, 14 minutes left, and I don't know how much more there is to your stuff you need to go over.
A bit.
Quite a bit, okay.
A bit.
A bit, okay.
I can talk fast.
So I'm gonna. Well, I don't want to talk too fast, but I want to look at again. I want the audience to see how this stuff applies.
Yeah.
So I come to you and I go, look, Virgo's in my midheaven.
Yeah.
Mercury, because it's like 13 degrees.
It is 13. Okay.
13 degrees.
Mercury's going to go banging right up against the door again.
It's gonna go, bang, bang, bang.
Yes. Yes.
So,
This is an
what
opportunity.
would you say? What would you say to me?
I will. This is an opportunity, since it's relating to your career and your public image, this is an opportunity for you to refine and define how you're presenting yourself into the world. Because that midheaven 10th house is your career and how people see you in public. This is very public, obviously. So you need to define it. You need to figure out how this works in your everyday life, because this is becoming a routine. Virgo is routine. And so that's what I would let you know, that with the eclipse is actually going to be in your 9th house of education, because if you have 13, the eclipse is at 9, so it's in your 9th house. But with Mercury back and forth, Jupiter back and forth in there for the last year, the opportunities here for your career, because you're reestablishing yourself in a whole new, well, it's not a new area for you, but at this point in time, you're making a whole new career shift. You're still doing what you do, but you know what I'm saying? You're expanding yourself. You're expanding your knowledge out into the world. The eclipse on the 1st of September in your 9th house of higher education, which includes metaphysical things, that's fantastic. That's where you will start to set goals. So I'll tell everybody with this eclipse on September 1st, this new moon eclipse, this is where we set goals to focus in on, and we should be able to focus, because this eclipse, wherever it is in your own chart, you know, we're going to focus. It's a natural occurrence if we slow down, Mercury retrograde, long enough to hear and to see and to feel and to notice where we're being directed, especially if things don't feel like they're working out in your life.
Now, even with my own knowledge of astrology, which obviously I have a little bit along the way. Okay.
I think so, yeah.
But so much of my decisions are done intuitively, and so I always get a big kick when I look at the fact that I am launching I'm launching all my internet teaching
Yeah.
September 13th.
Oh. Good. And that's good timing because September 16th, moving on to the next episode, is a full moon lunar eclipse. So the sun is at 24 Virgo and the moon's at 24 Pisces. So we have a full moon, just like the one on August 18th. 3 in a row. Eclipses move us. It's not just a new moon and a full moon. New moons set goals, all right, about details. And again, I have videos on YouTube all about these that really, like, very much a lot of details. The full moon on August 16th, since you're launching in between during a waxing moon phase, perfect. Perfect. You want to launch things and start new things during the waxing lunar phase. It's what we do. We should do it.
And in the last Mercury retrograde was when Angie and I were putting together this show to launch.
Yeah. And I think you're having the Webalite Expo on a Mercury retrograde. So even though it's not always ideal for starting absolutely new things, but if you're reinventing something that already exists, it's even better.
Now, how does it play out for somebody like me who has my birth chart Mercury retrograde?
It's perfect because a third of the population has Mercury retrograde. Since Mercury is retrograde 3 times a year. So basically the amount of time, here's the correlation. The amount of time a person sleeps, we sleep a third of our lifetime, if you're a normal sleeper. Mercury is retrograde a third of the time. So when somebody has Mercury retrograde, you are already somebody who thinks before they speak. Most of the time, there are other circumstances, but most of the time you think before you speak. You already embody Mercury retrograde, so it's when you feel best.
Yep.
It's when you feel best.
Okay, so we need to get through the rest of this. I'll stop slowing you down.
So September 16th, that's okay, we're cool. But it gives people really practical, it's okay that you ask, because it gives people practical, they can see how it can be used in a practical way. On the 16th, that full moon lunar eclipse is in Pisces. Lunar eclipses, any full moon eclipse, full moon is about releasing and letting go. So what do I see? Pisces, and that Pisces Virgo opposition is about bringing spirit to matter. Spirit is the Pisces, matter is Virgo. And I've always attributed that to Virgo too. And all those folks out there who love yoga, that's a very Virgo trait, because we're using the physical body through spiritual practice, physical body. A lot of transformation happens. It's very Virgo. This eclipse is really strong for a lot of people who are very interested in creating yoga studios or whatever, learning. This eclipse on the 16th in Pisces wants us to understand that all those details, they're just details, because what it really comes down to is we're all one. We're all one. Pisces is the culmination of every zodiac sign. And so whatever your spiritual practice is, whatever your, I wouldn't say religion, because religion is very fixed. It's not Pisces. Pisces is faith and belief and spiritual practices. And so all the details that we're putting together and all the details that we've been honing in on over this last month, we still need to remember. This happens every year. We always have this full moon, but this year it's an eclipse, and every year it's about making sure that this is what's good for the whole. So whatever you do, it has an effect on the whole.
And so, onto the internet, on an internet platform, I am going to be teaching every Tuesday afternoon in a spiritual development series from September to December.
Very good.
So I'm like, if that's not Pisces to Virgo,
That really is, yeah.
yeah. I'm listening to you and going, okay.
So that means that the eclipse moon, the full moon, will be in the 4th house in your chart, and the 4th house represents home. So you'll be teaching from home, and people will be in their homes learning about spiritual stuff.
Yes.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
See, astrology explains everything. I love it. I love it. Astrology explains everything.
Okay, so we have a couple of minutes wrap up before I do my closing wrap up, and I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'll try. I'll try to keep my mouth shut for the next couple of minutes as you wrap up the rest of the astrology, and then I'll be wrapping up the show.
All right, so I kind of wrapped that up. I did wrap that up. You know, one additional thing that's happening, the eclipses are super important. So, and the reason they're just important is because we are, you know, physically in alignment with the sun and the moon. I mean, everybody learned that in elementary school. And so the tides, we have astronomical high tides and low tides. And so this really draws and pulls on us since we have, you know, we're over 70% water. And so it just draws on us. So really trust your instincts. On September 1st, with that new moon in Virgo, sit down, spend some time alone. And I do new moon astrology all the time. And let me get you the exact time of that while I'm talking. The new moon on the east coast of the United States is at 5:03 a.m. So anytime after the new moon, you have to wait till after the new moon to set goals. We sit down and we set goals, and listen to this again, if you will, and just grab those keywords that meant something to you. You don't have to do everything I say. You don't have to work on everything about, you know, your diet and, you know, service and all of those things. But whatever is interesting to you, set some goals on September 1st after 5 in the morning, and get a book and do that every month. You know, write these things out, couple every month, about up to 10, and just see where your life, it just helps you to grow. And then on the full moon is where we can let go, especially since this is in Pisces and the sun's in Virgo, we can let go of some details that aren't working for us anymore. Write them down on a piece of paper safely. I've said this before, and I'll probably say it a ton times more, and burn it. Go to the beach or do it in your kitchen sink. Do it away from your smoke alarm. Just a little piece of paper, write down what you need to let go of, and let it go. See it burn, see it go into ash and smoke, and let it go away. Don't bury it, it just festers. Burn it safely. That's what I would recommend.
So as you and I had talked about, because we were at an event together recently, a week ago today, I had started, and so it was August 8th, I started the Fat Burner Challenge that I'm doing. That's a combination of fat burning and a cleanse. I mean, it's intertwined. So I started that just a week ago. I started it on August 8th. So now I'm kind of curious was I starting it on a new moon day, or was the new moon earlier than that?
If you really want to start things for losing, you start it on the full moon, because the full moon is waning. It's about releasing.
What was going on August 8th? I was in trouble. I picked a wrong day.
You did, but that's okay. You could still use it. We are in the waxing phase. August 8th, the moon is in Libra, but it was void, of course. What time did you start? Just in the morning?
Yep, just in the morning when
fine.
I get up around 6 in the morning.
Yeah, it's just the moon is in Libra, so that's fine. You're just looking for some equilibrium.
So for those of you who are following my weight loss fat cleanse, notice that our shows do get pre-taped. So you're not going to hear me mention it sequentially on every show, because I will actually, on the days that we're taping, I will mention how many days I'm into it. I am into 1 week of my challenge. I'm down, I think, 13 inches and 10 pounds.
Whew, that's awesome.
And I feel pretty good, and I'm following it. And I'm spiritually journaling every morning and every night.
Nice.
Because, remember that when we hold on to weight, we're also holding on to issues. We're holding on to past hurts. We're holding on to things, might be negative self-worth or belief systems or whatever. And so as we are losing the weight, if we don't want the weight to find us again, we have to process through the things that the weight was hiding.
Yeah.
So we are going to be closing out today's show. We'll see you back in a month as we go from Virgo into Libra.
Yes.
Thank you as always for coming.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And as we close out today's show, and I'm going to do this very quickly, next week you will see me on with Reverend Lori Otto. And I will once again go on that search of where's Angie. We'll see. See if she makes it back in time. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. You have to tune in and find out. Until then, there are lots of tools There are a lot of times when we will ask Spirit, God, whoever, for help. Like I did and spoke about last week. I said, I'm done with this weight, show me a way. 5 minutes later, somebody's handing me a way, but I had to choose to take it. Today, we gave you some information, some insight. We took a tool off the belt called astrology. We hired, or well, not, I shouldn't say hired because that indicates we pay her. We brought in a somebody who's highly skilled with that tool, i.e. Dorothy, and are offering you perhaps the answer to your prayers around information, guidance, and insight. Do you give your power away to it? No. But you can use it as more information with which to make better decisions. And isn't that what life's about? Making the best decisions? Making the best decisions for you, not for who anyone wants you to be, but for who you are. Namaste.